while since I've seen you.
Yeah, what a place. Look at this.
Thank you, yeah. It's our little stash spot here. It's the new HQ. Basically, we have one of almost everything in our history. And then here upstairs, we have a lounge where we'll sit with our clients, kind of go over the cars with them, go over the specs with them for the cars that they want to order. But yeah, this is the home of RUF North America in Miami. We have a private service department where we do all the servicing, like I had mentioned. And then this is where you would come to place orders for cars, see if any of these historic pieces fit your collection. And then in addition to that, we do the services for basically anything. And we order new cars and import them for people too.
Why North America?
Why North America? Well, since day one, North America has been the biggest market for RUF, and this ties into our story as well. Funny enough, the most RUF per capita products in the 90s was Puerto Rico. So family that runs RUF North America that trusted me to be like their representative here. It's the Gomez family that represents a lot of major dealers in Puerto Rico. They're basically the backbone of the automotive industry from that island since the 40s. And so with that, they've had the experience of being importers, being representatives for all these brands like Porsche, Audi, Ferrari, Lambo, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, you name it. And they've had a relationship lasting already, I think, like 2 or 3 generations with the RUF family as well. I believe it was the grandfather. He started not buying RUFs, but restoring cars through RUF, because in Germany, we also do restorations for special clients. It was a 57 Speedster and a 73 RS. And so those were his first 2 cars that he restored through RUF with Alois. And then Alois and Estonia, they love going to the DR and PR. And so they built a relationship that was very strong within the family itself. And then as, my boss's father came into the picture, he also started restoring Porsches and then started collecting RUFs. And then my boss, which is now, he's Victor Gomez IV, he's the president here. He started to actually want to represent them and do like a customer-facing aspect of the business here in North America as the official North American importers. There's been distribution in the past. There's been shops that represented them, but here it's more of a complete, full picture of the same business that's in Germany, just here. Like we also do parts, like I said, service, importing the cars, speccing them, ordering them for our clients. And so we have 3 carbon tub cars that were brought into the US through us. We have that CTR3 Evo that was also brought into the US through us. So we've done a lot of work already with them in bringing in the new cars, and then also cultivating these and curating these sorts of historic models for clients that want to acquire one of those as well.
Also, I'm assuming it makes sense, A, the proximity to Puerto Rico, but also B, the clientele in Miami.
The clientele in Miami, but also not just PR, but it's just very easy to fly from Europe to Miami because we're still, in the grand scheme of the world, technically more centralized. I mean, people are like, oh, why not LA, whatever. I mean, here, I'm 6 hours away from Germany. So, I'm already, starting to get emails and messages at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever. But then if I was in California, it'd be, super far. So, and then the proximity to South America, because there's a lot of clients that are in South America as well, Central America. So it's a very accessible hotspot being in Miami, and it's just easy to pretty much connect anywhere as well.
Let's talk about what you guys have here. So what are these? Are some of these new cars, some of these?
So we do have new cars, and then we have historic vehicles from our body in white era. And then we have some other cars that are from our personal collection that we just brought over here so you guys can see them as well.
Oh, so not every one of these is for sale?
No, I would say probably 85% of them are for sale. So, for example, it's easier to say what's not for sale, like the Speedster, that black 928, the green CTR3 we brought in for a client, the purple car, the yellow car. Those are, off hands, but they're excellent examples to show so that people who want to get into the brand or people who have one on order and they haven't seen one yet because they haven't been to Germany yet or they want to know what the product looks like, we can show them basically everything, right? So here we've curated, like I mentioned, like one of essentially every generation of our history. Our history is pretty expansive, starting from the 80s with the BTR, which is what this is. This here is an 88 slant nose BTR. It's a body in white car, and when I mention body in white, it's from that era where RUF would get a shell, blank slate, just a piece of metal from Porsche, and then we would develop our own drivetrains for the car to then bring it out into the market as our own vehicle. That's been our main thing, where that's what differentiates us from a hot rod company or a resto mod company. We're a manufacturer. So since the inception of the BTR, which is our first model, stood for Group B Turbo RUF, we've had that W09 VIN, and this one, really cool, is VIN 001. So this is VIN 001 slant nose BTR. With the BTR, we set the world's fastest production car record. And on top of that, this is the first time in this sort of 911-esque architecture that you had seen a 5-speed We first developed the 5-speed dogleg for the BTR model, and then we developed the 6-speed as well, ahead of what Porsche was engineering at the time. And so this car is a time capsule. The only thing I did to the inside when we were bringing it to the collection was we changed the floor mats.
Wait, this hasn't been restored?
The interior is completely original with 7,000 miles. The outside, yes, we did new wheels, tires, a pretty expansive service. And then what we did was the horizontal panels at least needed to get, refreshed and touched up. But besides that, the car's a time capsule.
And is this one for sale?
Yeah, this is available.
What?
Yeah.
And this is VIN number 1?
VIN 001. And you know what's crazy? This is BTR2, so this is from the 993 gen. We're skipping a couple of gens here. This is also VIN 001. So we have 2 VIN 001s in our collection that are available for the right individual that wants to add that sort of special piece of history. But after this came the CTR, which is what we're famous for, the Yellowbird. That was the first time that people had seen some sort of twin turbo technology in a streetable car, and it was the world's fastest car in 1987 as well. Then we said it again in 95 with the CTR2, which I don't have here. But after the CTR came the 964 generation, right? That was based on a G-body, narrow body car with flares. The prototype had NACA ducts. Everybody always asks oh, why doesn't this CTR have NACA ducts? It's because the street cars and the actual customer cars never came with them. But for the 964 generation, we came up with the RCT. The RCT was at the time a 385 horsepower, 3.6 single turbo, made it to a 6-speed. Also, still ahead of what Porsche had at the time. And what's remarkable about this piece of our history is from the CTR we learned, shaving the rain gutters is a great way to get aerodynamics out of it, changing where the mirrors go to make it more narrow and make it slip through that wind. It makes it much faster. But what's unique about this is where we became really renowned for the option of the integrated roll cage. So if you look at the A-pillar on this car versus the A-pillar on this car that did not get optioned with that, it's massive. So we stitch weld a full roll cage into the body in white that we would start with, and then completely upholster it as well. So then we came out with the Evo package, which bumped up the horsepower on the RCTs to 425 horsepower. So even though it's not the world's fastest car, this is still a 200-mile-an-hour car.
This is so insane. What year was this built?
These were built, for the 964 generation, so from 90 to around 94-ish. Funny enough, this one is a Porsche VIN car because it's a recent build from our Resto Mod line where we do have, that ability for someone to relive the body in white era just without the RUF VIN. But I do have a RUF VIN RCT Evo back there. It's one of around 10-ish that were made wide body from the factory, so.
That's why this looks like a brand new car. This has delivery miles or?
It's got about 2,000 miles on the clock since we built it. The cool part about this car is it has carbon doors, carbon frunk, and carbon deck lid.
Do you have any cars, or does the US have any cars where RUF in Germany, they build the cars to a certain spec and send it over hoping to sell it, or is everyone commissioned?
They're all commissioned. I've never seen a single RUF that is the same as the other.
Understood.
Close. There's been some that are close. There's 2 or 3 little variations of the slant nose that exist, and I always find something different with them. There's always either the steering wheel is different or the sound system or whatever. It's always interesting. But every single RUF that's ever been made since history, they've all been bespoke for their clients.
How long is the wait right now if you were to order?
For the carbon tub cars, it's about 2.5 years to 3. Keep in mind, this is a company that it's building cars by hand, and on top of that, the technology that we have with the carbon tub cars, that's truly remarkable. That's one of those things that, after we kind of go through the history of what we've learned, I can definitely show you the white one and the yellow and purple one, because that is something that really sets the future of RUF to perspective, for people. We're the only manufacturers at the moment making a rear engine, manual gearbox, carbon monocoque chassis vehicle. And I know the comments are gonna be oh, but what about, no, Koenigseggs are mid-engine, LAF is hybrid and mid-engine, 918 is mid-engine, everything's mid-engine, right? T50 is mid-engine, beautiful cars, amazing pieces of technology, but that sort of, iconic rear engine platform, it doesn't really exist in a carbon tub, let alone the white one, for example, that's a 2024 model. It's the same exact length, bumper to bumper, as an air-cooled vehicle. It's parked next to a 993. It doesn't look that much, obviously it's wider, but in length, it's not that much bigger.
So then this is not air-cooled?
No, this is a water-cooled, so this is what's known as the SCR. We introduced the carbon tub technology with the CTR anniversary. That was the rebirth of the iconic Yellowbird, which is the yellow one that I have back there. So the future of RUF is here. We no longer have bodies in white from Porsche. And so when you look at this right here, this is literally the tub. That's your chassis.
Yep.
For the car. And so because of that, we were able to develop this entire skin for the car as well. It's an incredibly lightweight vehicle, weighs about 1,300 kilos. And then for the SCR, this is a naturally aspirated variant with a ducktail. The CTR Anniversary is a twin-turbo variant with typical whale tail and NACA ducts to pay homage to the prototype. And so this is a water-cooled 4-liter flat six with 510 horsepower made it to our 6-speed gearbox. Dual wishbone push-rod suspension front and rear. And then on top of that, it's just, an amazing piece of engineering. And so here you'll see, a typical Napoleon hat. Everybody thinks they're air-cooled until they realize that's an alternator. So that's kind of like our homage to the air-cooled era.
That's pretty cool.
But if you see inside, you can see the actual push-rod suspension on the inside of the car. So we have dual wishbone in the front, push-rod, and then in the rear. In the front, we have it perpendicular.
That's so incredible.
Then it's our own engine, machined in-house. Like we make our own block. It's a truly special piece and of RUF history overall, because it really helps people understand just how we've been defining what that perfect platform should be. We've pushed it as far as we could, and so now we're just building the vehicle from the ground up.
Yeah, I've been very lucky to see some of these carbon tubs in assembly in Germany, and it's just so cool, the craftsmen, what they do.
Yeah.
What's like the starting price for something like this? I know it's probably hard for you to say off the bat, but what's the range at least?
When they were launched, they started around the 930,000 euro range, and then prices adjusted over time as time goes on, typical of most manufacturers making cars of this caliber. And if you ask me, I think it's absolutely worth it. There's nothing else with the technology that we have out there.
Yeah, it's a $1 million US car. I think it's worth it, especially how bespoke it is and just what else is on the market, It's so cool. Let's move down the line.
Yeah, so going back in time, this was pretty important for us too. This is known as the RUF RGT. This was the first car that RUF made that was fully homologated for US standards. We only built 17 of them for the world. Yeah, there's very limited runs for all of our cars. This is the introduction of water-cooled, right? So at the time, people couldn't get, especially in the US, a 996.1 GT3. And so what this was us making that sort of naturally aspirated, high-revving, flat six, 3.6 with a cable throttle, which is very analog feel. Great, because this is a 2001. By 2001, any 996 in the US was e-gas. 99s were cable throttle, and that only applied to two-wheel drive cars. And so with this, we also had the integrated cage. So this one has the integrated cage that you can see in the back, on the A-pillars as well. So it's much more rigid than what a regular 911 or GT3 chassis would ever be.
If you didn't say anything, I wouldn't have been able to tell.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, well, you can tell once you look at the headliner. When you see the headliner and it divots all the way up, you're like, oh, whoa, there's something there,
It's so good. Everything is touched. The gauges, the steering wheel, all the surfaces, everything. I just love that so much.
Yeah, and so when this car came out with 385 horsepower, when at the time the GT3s were, 365 was it? Yeah, 365. So it's got that extra oomph. It's one of those rare pieces where just like the SCR's NA, this is an NA car. It's very seldom that we do an NA car because our basis a lot was also turbo. So throughout our history, it's always been about turbocharging technology.
17 only. And this one is also for sale.
Yes.
Jeez. This is so desirable.
I have an affinity to this car because A, I love 996s. B, my first Porsche was a midnight blue over gray car. Yeah, so this is really cool. I think I featured it in one other video maybe, but we didn't even go into that depth of how crazy this car is. So I don't know if you noticed the parcel shelf in the back, but if you see the logo on the parcel shelf, it's a CTR.
Yeah.
So this is a CTR from RUF. So we built 29 narrow body Yellowbirds, and then this is one of only 2 wide bodies ever made.
Oh.
Yeah, so no one really knows that this is something that happened. This is one of those special pieces that we have in our own personal collection. But what you're looking at right now is the original spec of the car, how it was ordered. So it was ordered black over green with the Pepita inserts, given it's gone through a full restoration at the factory. So now it's essentially like new.
Yeah, it looks like it.
It is powered by the authentic RUF CTR drivetrain. And what's very unique about this car is CTRs, the narrow bodies, they were all built between 87 and 92-ish. This car was built very late in the assembly line for there's only 2 of them, right? 2 special clients got them made for them. And because of that, the nature of what was in RUF available was, there was a lot of technology that this car has from when it was built that CTRs wouldn't have. So the CTR drivetrain, the Group C brakes, that's all there. But what's unique is that this car came from factory with an integrated roll cage. A lot of them ended up going back to the factory to get that updated as part of their restorations and things like that. And then this car also came with a 6-speed. A lot of the early cars, actually the world record car was a 5-speed. So this was all available through RUF, and so we have like all the documentation on it. It's really cool. I have the original facts from when RUF took the order of the car, and there's like a nice letter from Estonia and everything, kind of like certifying everything. So it's really cool. It's this very special piece of our history. We took this car to Rennsport, so it was at Rennsport, but even still, when it was there, a lot of people were so focused on the car next to it, which was the CTR anniversary, that those who knew understood it and they knew, and then that's what this brand is kind of for. If you know, it's great. If not, then that's also great. It's fine.
It smells so good. It smells like a brand new car because it is. Yeah.
It is. So this one, it was a Speedster that a client had. She commissioned it through RUF for herself. She wanted it to be tailored and just fully restored. And then when we acquired it, it was still just a regular 964 Speedster. So we sent it back to the factory and we added the RCT Evo carbon bumpers for front and rear, the carbon deck lid. And then we put 19-inch center lock wheels with carbon ceramics on it, because we updated the entire drivetrain to the full 6-speed RCT Evo drivetrain. So this is a 425 horsepower 6-speed carbon ceramic center locked 964 Speedster, which is insane.
What's really insane to me is that RUF has survived so many different eras of car culture and just performance cars in general. Now I feel like is the height of this sort of car. Right, like not so much a resto mod, but like a boutique car. Mm-hmm. And it's just cool that they've survived all this time. Now they're able to capitalize on it by just creating so many more cars.
Yeah. I mean, through our history, we've done a lot of really cool things. Lots of like groundbreaking, moments in our history, and it just really shows the testament of our client base as well. It's a very loyal client base, an amazing one. It's a very tight-knit family. And our fans, too. I mean, people love our parts. They love tuning their cars either way with their upgrades, because that was also what we did back in the 80s. On top of building these super bespoke limited cars, we also had a bunch of parts that we were selling globally. And so, those are very special moments in our history where we can also build bespoke builds like this Speedster and like this car that you're looking at right now. The paint is insane.
Yeah, what is this?
So this is one of one. It's the RT Roadster. When RUF introduced their product for the 997 platform, we came out with the RT12. That was when the 996 was out, and we already had a high 400 horsepower twin turbo in a 997 shell. Then we came out with the RT12S, which had 560 horsepower, and then the RT12R, which had much more. It had around 720. With the RT Roadster, this was a special coach build, because at the end of the day, we're also coach builders, that a client wanted basically what an RT12S would feel like, driving-wise and everything, but he wanted to bring back that sort of beautiful feeling of like that connection to the drive that a true Targa could bring. So since the 993 all the way till the 997, Targas from Porsche were just a giant moonroof. It was like this giant panoramic sliding roof. So what we did is we actually engineered a true B-pillar Targa where it's a soft window, just like the 911s from the 60s as well. And so it's got carbon skin, our typical NACA ducts in the quarters, this beautiful chromoflash paint, which is like, it looks like a holographic trading card. That's the only way that I can describe it, because it's crazy. Then you have this extended red leather, extended carbon on the trim, PDK gearbox, so it's still blisteringly quick, all-wheel drive, center locks, carbon ceramics. It's everything you would want. And then this car is just really cool because it was also in Motor Trend. It was at Rennsport.
The Porsche phone is hilarious. I think that's great of its time.
Yeah.
But, this really just sparks an idea, or at least sparks a point for me. So many of these were bespoke parts, one-off made for something like this, like how do you even service something?
Well, that's why we're here now.
That means you have to recreate these things. Like let's say the top gets broken or something gets destroyed or gets worn. You have to create it from scratch again.
Part about being a manufacturer, we can engineer these things too. Obviously, it's not an ideal situation to be caught in, but that's what we're here for. You know, we've helped clients with those sorts of situations in the past, where even though it looks like it has a part number on it that would have been from Porsche, it's been completely re-engineered to the point where we have to make it from scratch.
This is the showroom, and we're in the showroom. There's also a service area.
Yeah, the service area is like a private, you know, off-site facility where we'll white glove a car and pick it up and take it there, because our clients also, you know, sometimes they just want to be more private. They don't want supercar spotters just walking in and taking pictures of their cars and things like that. Also helps us focus and just stay, you know, without any distractions too, and keep everything clean. So yeah, that's where cars like these end up.
All right, let's talk about this giant green monster.
Yeah, the CTR3 Evo. This is the send-off of the CTR3. Everybody always thought this was based on the Boxster or Cayman. It is not. It is based on a 997 that gets re-engineered to be a tubular rear end with multi-link suspension and a mid-engine. And then the PDK is derived from the 918. CTR3 Evo is going to be that send-off model. After this, we're not going to bring back the moniker. Earlier in the CTR3 Club Sport and the first run of CTR3s, they had different taillights, different rear end. So we completely revised the rear apron for better aerodynamics. The rear lights are more supercar-esque. The front chin is also different. And this is one of those cars that it's a bullet. I mean, this makes 820 horsepower. It's the fastest car we've made thus far, so it hits about 35 miles an hour. It's just remarkable.
This is really the closest thing to a hypercar that RUF has made.
Yeah, this is that sort of product for the individual that loves our brand, loves our engineering, but they wanted to discover, you know, what else we can make as far as a supercar is concerned, a hypercar.
Looking at it from the rear, I could see why people think it's a Cayman base, but you just look at this and then you can tell right away that it's 997 era.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't notice, but our 997, like the RT12S, some of them, and then this one in particular, like the CTR3 Evo and the RT12R, it looks just like a 997, right? But what we do is we also we redesigned the front arches of the car. So if you look at it from up top, it's actually a much sharper shoulder and a much more hump as well, to allow for better aerodynamics so that it can really push the car down. And that's one of the things that we do for this car and the RT12R. I'll actually open up the car for you so you can see the engine bay and all that stuff too, and turn on the lights. I mean, this is...
This is such an incredible car. When it's opened up,
yeah,
we were lucky to be able to see some of these being built on the assembly line.
Yeah, so the earlier models had a different version of the suspension in the back as well, so that's completely redesigned.
This really is the closest thing to a 918, huh?
Well, from what we've made, I guess, yeah, you can call it that. The other aspect, I mean, is we also don't have any sort of hybrid drivetrains or mild hybrids at all in any of our manufacturing.
So then this one is not for sale?
No, this one we actually brought in just now for our client because he had this on order. So that's part of that aspect. And then what we did is we did the pre-delivery inspection for him, and actually we did a full PPF job for him as well.
Oh, so this is going to a customer?
Yeah, this is a customer car. This is ready to go. We're already, you know, he's gracious enough to let us show it and share it with the world, because there's only 2 of them thus far that have been delivered. The first car, which is the Laguna Seca car, that was a very special one, because that's the car that we unveiled this model with at the Quail in 2023, which is also kind of like the main breakout for RUF North America, to be like, hey, we're here. You know, we were all sitting down in the meetings, and we wanted to make sure that the car paid homage as much as possible to that moment in time. And then, you know, there's a really annoying BMW kid in the room, which is me. And I was like, how about Laguna Seca Blue? Because we're going to shoot it at Quail, and eventually we're going to take it to Laguna Seca. So that car was really cool, because it came out Laguna Seca Blue over blue with like a crazy blue Alcantara interior. And then I ended up shooting it at the Corkscrew, which is really nice. So
That's so cool.
that was pretty peak.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah. This one's linden green over like a really nice, like darker buffalo leather. It's got the iconic lollipop seats. You're more than welcome to open it.
So nice inside. I mean, I do have to say, RUF interiors, so simple.
It's everything you want and nothing that you don't need.
It's not over the top.
It's not. It's always been about the drive. You know, Alois has never wanted to make something that was too distracting. I mean, the lights are beautiful. I also turn them on here so you can check them out. But even when you see like the carbon sub cars, you know, I tell my clients and the people that are looking to understand what it feels like to be in one of those things, I call it future nostalgia, because you're in this piece of technology that is so advanced, but your muscle memory is so familiar with it already, because what you're sitting in this cockpit is an air-cooled cockpit at the end of the day. Everything is in your mind already. As a Porsche and RUF enthusiast, you already know what it is. The shifter position is way better. The pedals are roof hinged instead of floor hinged, and they're titanium 3D printed, which is nice. The gauges, still iconic, analog, but they're LED backlit, so that's really cool. You got Bluetooth, airbags, that's nice. But you don't have any screens. There's no need for that. We don't want you to be distracted. We want both hands on the wheel. It inspires you to drive with your fingertips. It's very easy to drive it, and it inspires a lot of confidence. Then you get this CTR anniversary. Same sort of feeling, except it's 710 horsepower with the same weight, so life comes at you way faster. So that could be a little bit more intimidating for some of our clients. And it's just a really, really special piece. It's crazy, isn't it? It's just, every time I see it, I can't. You always notice something new.
I just can't. It's too much. It's too good.
My favorite part about these cars, which all the carbon tubs have it, is the glass curves in. So here, in this car, you get a lot of turbo flutter and wastegate noise, as expected from a twin turbo car. With the NA car, you saw that it had a giant carbon airbox in it, and so that car has a very just angry beehive sound. Yeah, that's the.
This design is just so nice. It has the same. It's like mirrored almost. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
It flows. It all flows.
It's such an interesting look.
Yeah.
It's almost like you said, it's old school.
Yeah.
It looks like Knight Rider or something, you know?
Yeah.
The way it looks, it's almost like Knight Rider or Star Trek, like the panels. It's so weird. It's just so different from what I've seen before.
This one has the full door cards, which is nice. There's two different options. It's got the lightweight wheels, so they're hollowed out in the middle on the center spokes.
These are still being built then?
If I'm not mistaken, I think we're wrapping up right now, like the last couple. Or no, I think we finished these. The CTR anniversaries, the assembly line is already done. Now we're full focus on SCRs, and then we're gonna bring in the Rodeo, which is what we unveiled this year. We built 50 of these for the world.
And how much did these go for?
Those started at a different pricing bracket because they were technically like, it was a Geneva car in like 2016, 17, so the pricing of that was totally different. So anybody who has one of those from those days is a pretty happy individual now. But yeah, these were just, it was that sort of next chapter, and it really shows just what we're gonna be able to do as we move along. I think our commitment is always gonna be to driving. As of right now, Alois has zero plans of adding any sort of mild hybrid or hybrid electrification to any of our cars. And I think that that's what makes this brand also so special, where it's a new vehicle, new technology. But here, look, you're standing in front of a 964 wide body. Look at it, and then look at the CTR anniversary and tell me it's the same size.
Yeah. I love driving my 996 Turbo, but after a few weeks, the battery always goes dead. When it needed a jump start using the lead acid battery, I had to pop off the cover for the keyhole, open the door with a key, pop off the fuse cover, plug in the jump starter to the vehicle to open the front, take off the cover for the battery, then jump start the car. I can skip all of that with built-in wireless jump start. All I have to do is press this button on my anti-gravity key fob, and then I'm off enjoying my car.
So yeah, this is one of around 10 that we made. This is a real W09 roof VIN RCT Evo wide body. It was ordered gray over Bordeaux, which is a pretty cool, funky color spectrum. Our carbon lollipop seats, which are newer. It's got the Porsche Classic in it. This is like the perfect first air-cooled roof if anybody's looking for their first roof experience. I highly recommend RCTs just because I love the 964 platform. I think the 964 platform is just a great all-arounder. Just be a very linear power band. Even though it's single turbo, it's very torquey on the bottom end. And it's one of those cars that as it pulls, as the boost builds, like you feel it in your diaphragm. It's a different sort of like speed that you feel. So it's a very planted and inspiring driving feel. The BTR slant, that's in the front, and the BTR 2, which is the kind of like the follow-up to that model, they both react very similarly. It's very Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So even though on paper that has 420 horsepower, single turbo 3.6, just like this would, they could not drive any more different. It's crazy. So, and that's why I like that car too. It's just a lot of fun. That's more of a giggle car. This is more of like a, wow. You know, it really takes you away. This is another resto mod that we recently built. Goes to show the other cool stuff that we can do with these builds for our clients. So the inside of this car is very, you know, it's different from anything that would have been ordered in the 90s. But it goes to show just how much we can do of bespoke tailoring options too. We have a deviated leather headliner on top of the leather-wrapped cage, which is nice. We have a custom little storage tray in the back as well, which is nice, because I mean, it's not like anybody's gonna sit back there. So might as well make it useful for road tripping. And this is basically that sort of rebirth or continuation of what these cars were from back in the day.
What's going on with this purple one? So this is like the new.
Yeah, this one we just got recently. You saw the white SCR. You've seen the CTR Anniversary. This is also an SCR, but we're building a very limited number of these, and it's known as the SCR Mary Stewart wing. This car is our own personal, like, RUF North America car. It is, what we wanted to do, we wanted to make it as racy as possible. So it's got hood pins, no front, like, hood latch actuating system. It's got canards in the front, an extra chin, the lightweight door cards with exposed carbon Recaro podiums, lightweight wheels, and then our exhaust is custom, where they valved it for us, and it's more of like a straight pipe, which is crazy. And then what's cool is the wing. So this is known as the Mary Stewart wing. It's a tribute to the Targa Florio winning 911 RSR that was done with that sort of collared wing in the back, and they called it the Mary Stewart because she was the Queen of Scots and had this crazy collar back in the day. And so instead of having just the ducktail in the back, it has the full sweeping quarters connected to the rear wing, which I think is such a beautiful look. And it's quite a complex build to make, funny enough, because people think this is just like, oh, just mold it onto the quarters. No.
Is it most of them or all of the bumpers have a Euro plate area?
Yeah. For like for these new cars, we make them with Euro plate holders just because it looks way nicer anyways. But this car is a completely custom body just because it goes from here all the way to the A-pillar. That entire thing is one shell. And so this one's two-tone Alcantara, black and light gray, with purple deviated stitching throughout. You can see also carbon airbox. You can see the dual wishbone setup in the back. This car's just nuts.
And then, so what's the price range for this one?
Yeah, so the Mary Stewarts are not really available anymore, so it's not like you can really option it anyways. But it would have been also the same, starting at 930,000 euros. And you know, if any more become available, then we'll see what the pricing is. But yeah, this is one of those cars that it's just, everything is bespoke. So at the end of the day, your starting price is X, but the sky's the limit. I mean, we made one with full lederhosen interior.
It looks so different. It just looks so crazy.
It's so much more menacing. This is my favorite rendition of any of the carbon dub cars. We really wanted to pay tribute to like one of our favorite cars, and that was an amazing vehicle. So we painted it the same purple as the 16 RSs. And then here is really something that only one guy in Renlist posted about it. And I remember finding that thread. So if you're watching this video, I read it. And one guy was very wrong in the comments. He was like, oh, RUF never made a 928. You are looking at the only 928 W09 RUF VIN car ever made. So it was more of a coach build that was done for a special client that just wanted something nice, something more high-end than what was offered at the time and with some more power. It was originally built for Mr. Samsung, and we acquired it for our personal collection, and then we went ahead and updated it with things that would be cool to add. So also it has carbon ceramics and 19s on it, which is cool. You don't see that in 928s at all. And it's just like a really cool, unique chapter in their history where it also goes to show, just like that soft window Targa, like the Speedster RCT, you had moments like these where we just made whatever we wanted to.
The paint is really like glass.
Yeah.
There's no orange peel.
Yeah.
I cannot believe
one thing
how
you take
nice
pride in.
this is.
And then that's the Pfaffenhausen crest. So some cars came with the RUF, the 3 letters on the front, and then some other cars occasionally would come with the Pfaffenhausen crest.
I love that you just casually dropped the fact that this was owned by Mr. Samsung.
Yep.
Maybe you've heard of him.
Yeah, it's a cool guy. So this right here is the real determination on a real RUF or not. W09. That will always be what tells you if it's a real RUF or not. Porsches start with WPO. RUFs will always start with W09.
Understood. That interior is beautiful. All right, last car.
So here we have so it looks like a 930, but it's actually a VIN code from 1990. So this is a BTR3. It's sat kind of in between the first BTRs, like the red car that's in the front, and the CTR Yellowbirds. So we had come out with the BTR 3.4, which was the world's fastest car at the time, and then when we came out with the BTR 3, which is what this is, it was essentially the same sort of 3.4 single turbo, but it had a Motronic in it to go ahead and help with, the tuning and everything to make it smoother. This one, instead of it having the dogleg 5-speed that the red car has, it has a 6-speed in it, and it's a Japanese car, which is pretty cool. blue over, it's a triple blue car. Blue everywhere. Blue, everything is blue. I love this car. It's iconic for the 90s, really is.
Was this one refreshed too?
I believe it was refreshed, the paint, but it's like the interior is also one of those things that's a time capsule. The Recaro Classics still work as they should. You know, the tape deck also still works as it should. And this car is just a blast to drive. So the earlier BTRs were 385 horsepower. And then when we updated to the Motronic, it was 405-ish.
Dude, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I do have to say, are you still a BMW nerd? You are. You're going to be forever a BMW
I'm
nerd.
gonna be an everything nerd, like every car nerd. I just love all of them. For me, I've always had it's a very strange full circle moment for me to be working for RUF, just because, you know, representing the brand now, being able to work with like Alois and Estonia and people that I read about in like forums and in books and drove their cars in Gran Turismo. Like I'm almost a direct product of what they created from back in the day, and now the company is so historic and so old that someone that they had as a fan carried their legacy through and taught their son about it, and their son fell in love with it so much that now he wanted to work for them, and being at the right place at the right time has proven that I was able to come to where I am now. So I'm very lucky. It's a really, really cool opportunity. It's crazy from when we last saw each other. But I've always been playing around with cars. Like, it's always been my thing.
I mean, we've been shooting together for over 5 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, or more than that. We've been shooting together for a while. So
yeah.
It's been awesome to see you grow as a car enthusiast and somebody in the industry. So then, what do you think your first RUF is going to be?
I really wish I could afford that RGT. I love that car. I love that car so much. Because we rarely make NAs, and this is just so much fun being an NA. You can just whack the throttle and you just get immediate response. You don't get the feeling that any 996 gives you unless you can compare it to like a 99 Carrera, and that's super low horsepower. Because that cable throttle, it makes those cars so different. It's just weird. Besides that, I really do love the carbon tub cars. And then I'm not a 993 guy, but the BTR2 is so much fun. It just like really makes you laugh the whole time. But it does say a lot when Alois's like personal stuff that he likes to drive the most is the RCTs, just because they're such a good all-arounder. I love them all, man. I really do. And it's just like, it's been like a really crazy opportunity to learn so much more about the company that, like, you know, like the stuff that you think is hearsay, some of those things are true, some of the things are not. But it's funny being behind such a legendary brand, in the sense that I did a podcast recently with DuPont on that Targa and like the history of RUF. And I think that calling it a legend, some people might think is like too much of an exaggeration. But when you think of like the literal term of what the word legend is, that's what this is. And now with RUF North America, obviously the product is more in the faces of more people than before. People now are calling me all the time to learn about the brand, which is awesome. I get to educate people a lot. And I think that the education behind the brand is the most important part, which is why love having you here so we can help spread the word about it. But when you talk about legends, it's stuff that's passed down generation to generation by word of mouth, almost like folklore, you know? And that's what this brand is based off of. Look at where we are now. And we started building cars officially like with our own VIN in 83-ish, 81. And it's survived, like you mentioned, all those generations and all those eras of sports cars until now. And now this is just like a new leaf and a crazy opportunity for the chapter to keep on going. So it's really special, really, really special. Plus, you know, having looked up to you and being a photographer and now like representing a brand like this, it's crazy. It really is.
It's super cool. Luckily, because you work for RUF, you get to enjoy some of these cars sometimes. So
yeah,
you are honestly the perfect car salesman. Like, no, I mean, like, you're not the traditional car salesman where you're like, oh, I just want to get them out. Let's sell these things, right? No. You are actually in love with them. And maybe that makes you
to a fault
bad car salesman.
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's really cool to always have someone get one of these and carry on that legacy. But every time I see them leave, I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna see that car for a while. Like, because people keep them forever. It's seldom that these come up for sale, let alone publicly. You know, that's what we're here for too, to help our clients protect the asset and protect the collectability of these cars too, and make sure that they get represented the right way and at the right pricing that we believe that they should go. And it's interesting, like you mentioned, yeah, it's like, you always want to sell a car and help it find its next home. but you always want to make sure it's the right home. And that's what we also do here at RUF North America, where it's a very no pressure environment. You know, someone walks in here and they're thinking of getting into the brand, they want to learn about it. I walk them through all of our history. And then after that, I can really, it's almost like a shrink. Like I talk to them, I'm like, look, what's your driving style? What do you like? Who are you? You know, what era represents you the most? And because of that, I've been able to make some really, really cool specs with clients for the new cars that are coming out. And I've also been able to find clients the exact car that they wanted. And I think that's the most rewarding part of it, because they're always gonna come back, they're always gonna speak highly of you and all that and be ready for the next chapter. But being able to say that you found that perfect match is I think, very, very, I'm very lucky to be able to do so, to find those perfect matches for those clients. Because they can buy anything. I mean, when you're in this market, you're in a very fortunate position, and being able to have the trust in me to give you the car or find that right car for you it's truly an honor. And you meet amazing people too. The advice that I've gotten just from some of these guys talking to them it's crazy. It really opens your eye to another level of wisdom too. So it's awesome.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. So.
Good to see you.